Hello, everyone. I am here with Reverend Kelly, and we are going to be talking today about why you absolutely have to follow your heart. This is not a choice. This is something you have to be doing. And probably also how we get there.
Yeah, a
So,
little bit
tell
about
us a
that.
little bit about you.
Well, I am a metaphysical reverend. I don't subscribe to any particular religion. For me, metaphysics is like God beyond the Bible, and it takes us into our hearts, into our bodies. And so that's part of the reason why you go into your heart. And, I'm going to beg to differ with you. It is a choice. Actually, we are so raised to be. I'm taking I'm jumping into our talk already here and having told you a little bit about me. So let me step back a little bit and tell you a little bit about me. I am the director of programs at Success Journey Academy, where we teach coaches to work with their clients in a way that they can guarantee results. And it is amazing work. I looked for it all my life, finally found it, and I can't think of anything that's more soul nourishing work to do. So I work with people. My specialty is depression, anxiety, and suicide ideation. And I work with people usually for 3 months initially and take them from that state. I guide them. They really do the work. I guide them from that state to a place where they are listening to their own heart. And I get the comment that they're happy to be happy waking up in the morning. And so it's a big shift in a short amount of time. And that's what I was looking for, something that's very effective and really pretty easy. They thank me for all the work I do, and they're actually doing the work, and it just doesn't feel like it. And
I have
then,
I have worked with one of the coaches
mhm,
from the same organization, and it's amazing. It's very unique.
it's very unique, and it works. It's effective, and it's fast, and it's actually pretty fun. And so, I mean, what more could you ask for there? So that's a little bit about me. And then I was jumping right into why you
All
got to
right,
listen
go
to
for
your
it.
heart.
Tell me everything.
So we are raised, to live in our minds in this little bitty box from the chin up. And that is really damaging to us because our sweet little minds, it's like having a child in charge of adult decisions. And your mind is it's just really it's really just trying to keep you safe.
Mm.
It doesn't want you to do things because you might get hurt. It might hurt your feelings, it might hurt your body. um, it You just might get hurt. And so it's like a little child trying to run the life of an adult. And on top of that, so much of our unconscious actions come from decisions we made when we were little bitty kids about the way the world works, about the way we work in the world and who we are in the world. And so it comes from a time the our programming, which you can program your subconscious, our subconscious programming comes from a time that we're probably less than 7 years old. So we are operating.
This system. This is a terrible idea.
Terrible idea. We operate as a small child. Our minds are like small children, and our subconscious is like that programming is like a small child. And then we come into our adult lives and we continue to operate that way. And it's very different as a kid because it's survival. We know at that age that if our parents leave us, we'll die. And so we're actually in a survival mode. And then we get to be an adult and we're not in survival mode anymore. We're taking care of ourselves. We know that we can take care of ourselves. And yet we continue to operate in this survival mode. And
We
so
have
this
so much
is,
less information as children too. Like when I look at my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old, the ideas that they're forming about the world are based on not very much data.
correct. And the idea of a child, maybe you give one of them a bigger piece of cake one time, and the other child thinks, oh, you love them better. And then that becomes part of their subconscious programming.
And you don't even remember it.
and you don't even remember it.
You never know which of your little actions are going to trigger something like that. Stays with them for life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's really clear, you got to talk to your kids and really kind of guide them, because remember, their whole world is like the house, their school, and what, a few blocks. And so that's their whole world, and everything beyond that seems so big and so far away. And oh my gosh, if I went to that third block, how will I ever get home? You know?
Yeah.
So their sweet little minds are very, very impressionable, like sponges. And so, yeah, so they, as small children, we're forming our idea of what the world really is. And it changes when we're teenagers. There are some changes that shift, but that subconscious, that unconscious part of our bodies, of our minds, is what really drives our behavior. We hear this, we're thinking the same thoughts, 90% of the same thoughts every day. And where does that come from? Well, it comes from our subconscious, our
It's pretty
unconscious.
shocking you said that we can actually change our subconscious and
Oh, absolutely.
rewire it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Have you ever changed a habit?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. So driving's a really good one. Driving's a really good example, because at first you have to pay attention to everything that you're doing when you're driving. I got to put on my seatbelt, stick the
Mm-hmm.
key in the ignition, and I've got, where do I put my feet and my hands, and putting it in drive or park or reverse. And we have to think about every piece of that. That's a new habit that you're forming. And then all of a sudden you're jumping in that car, and you're 3 blocks down before you kind of realize you're in the car. Oh yeah, I'm driving.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's kind of how the subconscious works, and how you can reprogram it by choosing your habits specifically. And so,
Mm.
yes, it's very programmable. It's very programmable. And
Excellent.
so, yeah, it's just whatever your habits, whatever you choose for your habits to be, um, even if it's not a conscious choice, that's how you're programming your subconscious.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, I said following your heart is not a choice, shouldn't be
Hmm.
a choice. And you disagreed with me. So tell us more about that.
Because, well, we've got so many people out there, they have the choice to follow their hearts. And then how do you do it, right? They have the choice to follow their hearts, but we've all been raised to be in this little mind box.
Hmm.
And so that's how they're raised, and that's what people know. And so they think that that's where we need to be. It's only when we really become so unhappy that we start going, what's going on? Because we're not listening to our bodies, because our bodies tell us all kinds of stuff. We've
Mm.
all had that gut feel. We certainly feel anxiety. I don't know a person on earth that doesn't feel anxiety. Well, that's your body talking to you. It's not, it's, it's coming from your mind because of the way the mind works. But your body's telling you, I'm anxious. I'm not happy. The choices you're making are not honoring myself or my being. They're not honoring my being. That's how you get into depression, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, so um, it's really about deciding, what do you want in your life? A lot of people do very, very well with that very left-brained. Uh, the world's set up for left-brain people, and they do very, very well. But then we get to a certain point in our life where we go, there's got to be more, or I'm not happy, or whatever the impetus is. It could be a universal 2x4 over the head too, wrecks, anything like that really shift your perception of the way life works. The death of a loved one will do that as well. It
Mhm.
really just like
Mhm.
it completely changes, like your values, like you start going way back to your values and going, oh wow, like i I didn't honor, this person in my life, or I didn't take care of them, or I didn't treat them as well as I should, or whatever it is, because we get a lot of guilt around someone passing. And so, really understanding that we've been trained badly, and to come back to ourselves, which means coming back to our bodies, because that's really where we live. We live in these bodies. And when we are only paying attention to our mind and our bodies only when we look at how they look or if they're in pain, I think that's very detrimental to our being. And I think it leads to depression, going against yourself time after time after time after time. That was my experience. I'm sure there's a myriad of reasons to be in depression. A lot of people I talk with and people and my clients, it is those choices that they make that go against themselves time after time after time until your being just shuts down, says I can't do anymore. And
I
then
think it's
you're,
really easy to get stuck in what you think is going to bring you happiness, where the path that you think you're supposed to be on or want to be on, because life is really always throwing these curveballs. So we make some decisions again when we're young, maybe going to college, maybe when we're teenagers, going, okay, this is what I want my life to map out to and look like. And I think for many of us, if we stick to that path, we end up unhappy because, again, it was formed with less information. And it's probably good to touch base and be able to shift if it's something different that's going to bring you happiness. That was my experience with
Mhm.
getting into building sales funnels. I did not see that coming.
Mine too. I am a recovering CPA. How about that? So yeah, and to me that was just absolutely soul crushing work. Like if I had to go back into that work again, just take me out to pasture and shoot me. It's absolutely soul crushing for me. And so yeah, I agree with you. We make those decisions when we're so young, and also, we change throughout our life. And why should we have to do one thing forever in our
Yeah,
life?
that's true.
We're very complex and beautiful beings that like to experiment and play and have fun and enjoy our lives and do things that light us up and that feed our souls, that feed our hearts. And I don't think we know that at that age. We certainly haven't been raised that way. And so we get to somewhere in our life, let's just say middle age. It doesn't really matter where. It could be older, younger. It could even be a child where we figure out that we're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And why does that come? Why is that happening? And for me, it's because I wasn't listening to my body. I wasn't listening to my heart and my gut. I was only paying attention to what I had been taught and going from, the place behind my eyes, where I think my consciousness resides, where I think I reside in my body. But that's not necessarily true unless I put myself there. Because
Mm,
you can put yourself anywhere in your body and run your body from a conscious place
interesting.
from
Yeah.
your heart.
Mm.
And the experience is very different. It's much more powerful. The sheer power of the heart and the gut is I don't know how many more times. I've heard different numbers for how many more times. 10 times more powerful than the mind. Just in electromagnetic energy, it's more powerful. And
Mm.
so, wouldn't you want to work from the most powerful place in your body, which is the heart gut area? Um, Two, the mind will mislead you. It's trying to keep you safe, and so it will tell you don't do that or do that or what have you. And the body never lies. Your heart will never lie to you. Not once ever will it lie to you. So if your heart's saying yes and your mind's saying no, and you go with no, then you're not honoring your own heart.
It's
And this
very hard to tune in and listen to those things because the mind is very loud, at least for me.
Yeah, well, initially it is. And it, you have to I think there's some figuring this out for yourself too. That's part of what the conscious transformational coaching, the modality that I work in, helps is really help you get back into your heart, and it gets all the, well, I call it schmutz. Gets the schmutz out of the way so you can see yourself, so you can see your own heart and feel your own heart, and then you can make decisions from that place. And that's
Mm.
why this is, for me, why it's so effective, because you get the stuff out of the way. If you get the stuff
Did
out of
you have a particular incident that happened that made you realize that you wanted to make a change?
I think it was just general unhappiness. I maybe so. A deep depression.
Mm,
A deep depression. Like I came out of that, and boy, it was clinical. Like I could have been hospitalized for it, and I was like, whoa, I went way far down.
mm,
And what I figured out at that point in time was that I was making decisions that was going against myself time after time after time after time. And it shut me down. My being just shut down. I couldn't do anything. I got up, I went to work, I came home, went to bed. It was all I could do. That was it. Not taking care of animals, nothing. I couldn't do anything else other than like that was it. And I just completely shut down.
So how did you find what you're doing now? Was that like you tried a bunch of things and you ended up at this? And where did you first get introduced to Jackie and that whole method?
Well, I had been looking for years and years and years. I've been coaching off and on my whole life. And, a lot of coaching is just, well, how do you feel about that? Almost therapy, almost like therapy, asking me questions, talking about what's bothering me and that type of thing. I found Jackie. Jackie was a guest in a class that I was in, an online class that I was in, and she offered a free session. I took her up on it.
Mhm.
And she gave me that free session. And when I came out of it, I was just like, this is what I want. I want you to teach this to me. This is it. I found it. I finally frigging found it, what I had been looking for all my life. And so, when you release things in your body and release the I was going to say the schmutz. When you release the schmutz, it's lighter because we hold our emotions in our body. It's like carrying around a bag of bricks. You carrying around a bag of bricks or holding a big beach ball under the water. It's exhausting. You let them both go, and you're like, whoa, I feel great. And that's the type of work that we do. Is that's how you feel when you come out of it. You feel good. And the best part about it is you don't have to talk about it. We're not re-traumatizing people by having them talk about what it is that's bothering them. I don't have to know. I don't have to know what's bothering you. I can still work with you. Well, this is part of the process. I work with you to resolve negative mental and emotional memories and events. And you don't have to tell me about them. I
That's
don't need
amazing.
I don't
And
need
it's
to know.
guaranteed. I
And
mean,
yeah, and
Jackie's level of confidence is spectacular. Jackie Simmons is the founder of this method that we're talking about, and
absolutely.
she worked with me as well, and it was just like, how have I never heard of this before?
Right. Yeah. And it's a blend of, Jackie's brilliant. Let me just say it. She's brilliant. She's come through and she's got so much experience in stress management and mindset and she studies the science and she has all of this very practical knowledge that has been blended into what is conscious transformational coaching, and the result is it's spectacular. It's nothing short of amazing. And when literally 3 months, I can take somebody who is in depression, anxiety, has suicide ideation, maybe even tried and wasn't successful, um, thankfully, and within 3 months they're a different person. Like I watch people change. It is, they come in like this and they leave like this. It's just like, I can't, like I said, it's so soul nourishing for me to support people to go from such a dark place to such a bright, light place and enjoying and loving life and seeing what it's all about and playing again. You know? I
Mm.
just think like I said, I think it's the best thing since, I'm not even going to say sliced bread. It's the best thing ever.
Better than the sliced bread.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to get started with you, where should they reach out to?
Well, I've got kellykaelin.info. That's one place to reach out. The Success Journey Academy website is going to be up very shortly. We're actually a fairly new company. and teaching coach, instructing and teaching coaches and taking them through this program so that they can support their clients in really getting whatever their modality is. So that's one place. And soon it will be successjourneyacademy.com. One thing we can offer too is the get out of your own way fast and get what you want faster. And so that's something I can also offer a little bit later as well. So
Is that a workshop or a
it
session?
is. It's a
Workshop.
1 hour masterclass, and it's for free. And it kind of gives you a taste of what we do and how effective part of it's a step into our world, and how you can see how effective certain things can be and how we can switch and change your mindset.
Oh,
You know,
wonderful. That's perfect.
yeah, we have a negative bias. So we always look for what's wrong. And when you can switch and start looking for what's right in your life, then that's really great. And I think that makes a big difference in how you go through your day, because you're looking for what's great in your life as opposed to what stinks. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
that I could see that making a big difference.
Yeah, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I haven't tried before, but boy, the brain just keeps trying to pull you back into the negative.
It does. It does. It takes conscious effort to go from your mind to your heart. You've got to decide that that's what you want to do. Literally, it's a decision, and then it's an ongoing focus to, oh, I'm in my head again. I want to be in my heart. Oh, I'm in my head again. I want to be in my heart. And it's just like any other habit. You're making a change. And so it's just going to be conscious effort at first until you start really getting into your heart. And then there's levels. Of course, there's always levels of different things. You kind of start clearing your mind of things and reducing the distractions in your life, because our brains are just going, it can't handle everything that's being thrown at us. Again, it's like a small child, and it's just um, I think they call it monkey mind for a reason, right? So it's, if you can reduce the distractions of your mind, and literally it's about slowing things down. Doesn't mean you slow your thinking down, because I can think just as fast and probably faster than I was doing before, because I don't have all of that other stuff in the way. It just kind of, you start clearing, you clear the schmutz out of the way, and that all these things that our minds are playing over and over and over again, that don't feel good. They just don't feel good. Changing that to where it does feel good makes a huge difference, and it slows down the wonkiness that goes on in our minds.
Yeah, I really love the visual. Even though I've heard the idea of, making decisions from the heart or from the gut, I don't know why I've never before thought about how I do visualize myself as being in my brain, and that I could change that visualization. I could start visualizing myself in the heart region, and I'm going to try that. That sounds really neat.
It's fun. Yeah, and it changes the way you perceive things. It's really fascinating. You'll just go, wow, I never saw it that way before, or sensed it. I think sense is a better word, because we're sensing from a different place in our body. And when you start sensing things a little bit differently, of course, you're going to have a different experience of it.
That is very cool.
It is cool. And it's fun. Like I said, it's fun. It's not something that, again, we're not taught it. And so I think the biggest thing is, we've got people who are, stuck in this mind box, and they're desperate, literally desperate. And especially with the lockdowns and everything that have gone on, we have this really negative environment, and the negativity that is thrown at us is overwhelming if we're in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in our hearts, we can totally handle it. And it's because of the difference in the power.
I think
And
I tend to think of my heart as the weaker side.
mm-mm,
Like I've just always like my whole family were very intellectual, very thinkers, overthinkers.
right, right. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. Things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're taught that. Don't listen. Don't listen to yourself. Don't listen to your body. You're supposed to listen to everybody else. What everybody else wants you to do. We call that riding the elephant, Joe. Other people's judgments, opinions, and expectations, and it'll drive you crazy. It will literally drive you insane. I mean,
Mhm.
there's what, 7 billion in the world, billion people in the world or something like that. They all have an opinion.
Yeah.
So it's time to start listening to you. And the best place to start listening to you is in your heart and gut,
Mm.
because
Love
that is really what will guide you in finding the place that will make you happy. It will guide you. I mean, it's the light. It's the light in our bodies.
it. Mhm.
Um, the mind is just filled with all this stuff that everybody else wants us to have in our minds, and so it just, yeah, it doesn't serve us is basically what it comes down to. It's not like a tragedy or anything, but kind of a little bit of a tragedy, but it's not really a tragedy, and it's certainly changeable.
Yeah,
And
I think I really got a chance to see a clear example of this happening this summer because my husband and I are really changing around how the family is structured and what he's doing for work. And it's been very tumultuous. And we had this realization that he was getting very down because of the conflict between, like, he really knew what he wanted. He knew in his heart the direction he wanted to go, but it wasn't the right choice. It wasn't the proper thing that everybody around us wanted him to choose. So he's fighting and trying so hard to choose that thing that people want for him, but his heart knew that that wasn't right, and so that conflict was very challenging.
mhm. And that's what happens. And then when people choose
And
what
then he gets
everybody else wants them to do, see, nobody else is living your life. Nobody else is living your life. And I think that's kind of where we get, where we take a misstep, because we think, oh, well, we got to do what other people want us to do. No, you don't. You really
and
don't.
and it's, people who do have our best intentions, that want the best for us. So that's another reason why we listen to them, because we think like, well, they have this insight and they care about us, they want to lead us the right direction, but that's all based on their own biases and their own fears and
Mhm.
what they are afraid will happen if you make a choice that, and they can't feel what you feel, so they don't know how much your heart is pulling you towards something else.
Right, right. And, I think it's also, too, that if you make changes like that, it could make them uncomfortable.
Mm.
You know, if you change the way you are, this happens with my clients, because they change, and the people around them can be uncomfortable with that change. And so that's part of the coaching sometimes too, because it's just like all of a sudden I'm being pulled back into this old me because of the relationship I have with somebody I'm close with, when I really want to go this direction. So it happens all the time. And if your husband follows his heart, he's going to find that happiness, and he will find his abundance as well. And if
Yeah.
he follows what other people want him to, he's just going to dive down deeper into the unhappiness, which leads to all kinds of uncomfortable. You can talk about uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That anxiety that you're supposed to be doing something else, and you didn't make the decision that honors you. It's
As a
something.
mother of young children, I have to say I'm really thinking about Moana right now.
Mhm.
Moana, who was called to the sea, even though her family kept saying, "No, no, you've got to stay safe on the island with us."
Yes. Yeah. And you won't find your happiness there. And for me, it came down to this: am I going to be happy or am I going to be unhappy? And I decided to be happy, like joyously, crazy happy. And I started following my heart. I mean, for crying out loud, I studied metaphysics. Who would thunk it, you
From
know?
a CPA to metaphysics. It's an
Right.
unlikely jump, huh?
It's a bit of an unlikely jump, yes. I can do all of the CPA stuff. I can do it. I'm very, very good at it. And like I said, it's very soul sucking. It's not for me. It's not what I'm meant to do.
I
I'm
think
now
it's harder
doing.
to step away from it when you're good at it, because then you definitely have all those people going, "Are you nuts? Why would you give up something that you're good at that's making you
"Are you
money?"
crazy, right? Are you crazy? Yeah, I might be. Yeah, I might be. As far as what's in this thing right here, yeah, I probably am crazy. But when it comes to my heart and my body, absolutely not. Like the work that I'm doing, when I say it's soul nourishing, I mean it. And we want to find that for every person. Find that thing that nourishes your soul and go after it with everything you've got. You
Mm,
will find your abundance, and you certainly will find your happiness. You know,
I
uh,
think that's the most important thing.
I think it's the most important too. Because, I mean, when we leave here, we know we can't take the money. We know we can't take anything. We don't even take our bodies with us. So when we leave here, what do we get to take with us? This was like the crux of my spirituality from the time I was about 20. Um, what do I get to take with me? And I think that each person needs to answer that for themselves. What do I get to take with me? Well, I
Mhm.
think we get to take with I think we get to take our love. I think we get to take our experiences. And I think we get to take, how we feel about ourselves. Do I feel good about the way that I treat other people and other beings and the earth and everything? Do I feel good about that? And if I don't, I think I'm going to leave with that. I don't feel good about this. I could have done better, right?
Mm.
I think we all can do better. I feel that way now. I could have done better my whole life. I can't change my past. I can take care of the stuff in my past that's in my way going forward. And then I can be very happy going forward. And I can change the way that I react to the people around me, the other beings around me. And I can change all that. And we're here to learn. If we learn, then there's nothing to be ashamed of that I didn't know it back when I was a kid. We're not supposed to know things like this when we're a kid, or
That
maybe we
is
do. Maybe we know it. It gets taught out of us. And so, yeah, so it's about being who you are. And, we are who we are, and we can either honor that or we cannot honor that. And the way we're raised and the way society guides us, we don't honor that. And so when you make that change, moving from your head to your heart and starting to honor yourself, you are going against what other people want you to do,
yeah.
and you just got to say, you know what? I'm sorry. It didn't make you happy, but it makes me happy. And quite frankly, I live my life. You don't, and I mean, that's what it comes down to. At least I think
I
so.
love it. Fantastic. This has been great. So we will get the link from you for the workshop, or not workshop, the masterclass about getting what you want faster. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I can give that to you right now. It's anelephantwalk.com. Yeah,
Anelephantwalk.com.
AN elephant and walk, WALK.com. And you can find the Get Out of Your Own Way and Get What You Want Faster free masterclass there. And that'll give you a taste into what we do. And
Perfect.
yeah, and then we can kind of go from there as far as, where you want to go and what you want to learn. Or maybe that's all you need right now, and that's perfectly good. Uh,
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for spending this time with me.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been delightful. I love talking about what I do, and I love supporting people through this process, and would love to
I
meet some
can
of you
see
guys.
your love for it. It just shines through, which is so lovely.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we will wrap things up then.
Thanks, Carol.